So the woke takeover of the West and the United States in particular, cancel culture, stifling political correctness, gender ideology, critical race theory, you name it, a whole bunch of contested and frankly bonkers ideas. You think this has replaced Christianity?
Yes, in particular in the United States in the last 10 to 5 years, the BLM, the Black Lives Matter, there's this increased racial tension. You know, when I was growing up, I think there was less racial tension in the 80s and 90s than there are now in the 2020s in the United States of America. I think the Democratic Party has fostered that. It's a form of Marxism, social Marxism, and putting classes against one another, maybe not economic classes, but ethnic classes. And then also, the LGBT agenda has really been pushed strongly in the last 5 years, really, politically and in the media. And that has eroded a sense of family. You know, they said, oh, we just want to be married. You know, it's just private between us. But it's really been pushed down the American people's throats. And although some are pushing back, if you look at the polls, again, you just look at real facts, more and more Americans are becoming not just tolerant, but acceptant of that radical agenda. And that doesn't bode well for us.
Indeed. What is behind wokeism and what is the end game, do you think? What is the goal?
The end game, wokeism is ultimately atheism. Wokeism is, well, you could even say beyond atheism, it's Luciferian. It is, I will not serve, I will define reality. Instead of seeing reality as it is in nature, or as God has defined reality. That's how humans, at least in Christendom, have operated for close to 2,000 years. Instead, I will define myself. I will not serve. And so everything is for debate. So if you say, well, we can define marriage, or the state can define marriage, that means the state can define anything. It can define personhood. It can define what is a man, what is a woman, everything. And once we allow the governments to have that authority, we are giving them divine powers to redefine what is reality. And that has to be taken back. That has to be lodged safely again with the church, and the church having her proper influence over government. Because there, again, going back to the vacuum, there can be no vacuum. There has to be a definition of what is holy matrimony, and a definition of what it is to be a man, and what it is to be a woman, and what is a family. And that definition was given to us at the very beginning of creation. There's a story there, Adam and Eve and the family and marriage and man and woman. It's all laid out there. If we reject that, then ultimately it's up to some sort of demographic experiment on what is matrimony, what is family, what is man, what is woman. If we don't have those categories and those substances defined in our minds, then we're going to lose the war. And I think in America, in a democracy, so-called, Christians, you see this with JFK. He said, well, my faith is not going to influence my policies. That is sort of the 1950s, 1960s understanding that we will allow there to be a neutrality in the public square, and we will privately have our own beliefs. Well, we started that in the 50s and the 60s, and then as soon as we got into the 90s and the 2000s, that vacuum began to be filled. And radical secularism, Marxism, has filled in that void. And so I think there are a lot of, on your side of the sea and on ours, there's a lot of great minds who are saying, now, wait a second, this idea that Christians pretend to be neutral and do not put their convictions into the public square, we will lose 10 out of 10 times if we do that.